Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you're at. My name is Cher Johnston, and in today's video, we're going to finish this zipper bag. There's the front, there's the back. There's an entire playlist on my channel. If you haven't seen the other ones, you can go check it out. But this one might be the only one that you need to watch. There are 14 hexagons and 2 half hexes there. And you can see in the beginning of this video how they were stitched together. Or you could go and watch the entire playlist. Anyways, let's get into it. I've added a few more things, some lace here. This is a crocheted doily that I made, a little kitty cat button, a yo-yo. There's some buttons over here and ribbon along the edge there. And I have a piece of fabric that I drew around the outside of the bag, and now I'm going to cut it out about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and I'm going to stitch it. I think I might do some quilting stitches along the middle, along the bottom, and I think I'm going to baste it together. I'll let you know how it goes. It'll be just a minute for you. It might be a couple days for me, but it'll just be a minute for you. Well, here's where I'm at. I decided to do decorative stitches on the outside, and I remembered that I realized that I didn't want to cut it first. And I realized that I wanted to show the stitching on the back because my little granddaughter likes that kind of thing. She always likes to see the back. So there's the front, there's the back. You can see all the little tiny stitches with the beading the Nemo thread. And here's the front of this one. There's the back of that one. I think backs are kind of cool too. So anyways, what I did, I'm just going to explain to you what I did. I had to go in between to start the thread, so the knot is in between there. And then I did a feather stitch up here, and then I started with a cross stitch around here. Had to end off the thread because I was running out. And I'm going to go back in with the herringbone, go around here, and then I'm going to think about what I want to do. I might take out this stitching and put stitching in with the lining inside, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to go back to it. It'll be just a minute for you. All right, this is where I'm at right now. I stitched in the center a little bit, not much. Then I unpicked the running stitch around the edge. I folded under the lining and I basted that all down. So before we do the side seams, we have to do the zipper. I would highly recommend zippers from byannie.com. And if you look on YouTube, she has videos where she shows how you install a zipper, which is it's very good, very helpful, I would say. But I am going to show you. So I marked the center. I have I cut 18 inches. I put safety pins at the ends to keep my. Now what she says you do is you just cut your zipper tape and you put the zipper pulls on afterward. I don't like to do that because it's not easy for me to get them on, and then if they're crooked or something, anyways. So basically I'm going to sew this side of the zipper to this side of the bag. I marked both centers. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sew it down right about here, I think. About there. So I'm going to sew it down and then cut off the excess here and then flip it to the inside of the bag and stitch it down. Now, it's super easy to do this on a sewing machine if you know how to sew. I sewed my beads too close to the seam. So if you wanted to do it on the sewing machine, just keep your stuff away from the seam and then you can sew it on the machine. I may be able to do this part on the machine and then I'll just have to hand stitch it under. I don't know. I'll see. So I'm going to do that part and I'll be back. So as I was basting this down, I thought, how silly are you? If you put it in the machine this way, of course you can sew that seam in. And all you have to do is line up the edge of the zipper with the 1/4 inch with the edge, and then you sew in 1/4 inch, and then it's on your seam. And then I forgot to sew that up. I'll sew that up next. Next, I trimmed the edge here. I have to trim this edge. This I do have to do by hand. I'm going to sew this down to the inside. I'm going to sew that by hand. The next thing that we're going to do after this, let me just make sure. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What did I do? Okay, yeah, fine. Oh, zippers can be confusing, okay? Yeah, it's taking shape. The next thing, I have to decide if I'm going to put tabs here or if I'm going to sew this into the bag, into the side of the bag. I guess I don't have to decide that until I'm sewing up the edges of the bag. So I'm going to sew down the zippers, the zipper, the zips, the zip, whatever you call it. And I'll be back. Alright, here we are again. I did this off camera, and then I thought later I probably should have shown you, because I don't know if you can see the stitches. This is just an overcast stitch. We start from here, and you go in here and back out there, and then in here and back out there. It makes, well, you can see it makes the stitches hidden. So next, I'm going to start over here. I need to sew this section. I need to sew this closed, and then this gets sewn. I'm off camera. This gets sewn like this. So I'm going to start here. I want to hide the knot inside. Inside this seam here. I want this seam to show. That's why I'm using this bright pink thread, because I want you to be able to see a little, all the stitches. Because I think it's really cute. I really like the hand sewn look. I'm going to fix this. This frayed end keeps getting knotted. Alright, just like when we do the paper piecing, the seams, I'm going to do 2 or 3 stitches here at the end. Then this has to come up here. So this might seem a little fiddly at first, but you have edges. See, there's a beginning edge, there's an ending edge. Keep going off camera, sorry. So there's the ending edge of this one. You can see the pink thread. I want to go through these are the outside pieces. I go through just those 3 times. Then the inside. then I sort of wish I hadn't used a this lining fabric is really thick. I sort of wish I had used something thinner. So I want to go through all 4. Those are all folded edges. So it's like 8 pieces of fabric. And if I was smart, I'd get my thimble out and use a thimble, but I'm not that smart. All right, sometimes do this. Go back through that because I didn't make it through there. I'm very excited about this bag. I have half of it done, and I'm really liking it so far. I'm not sure I'm getting yeah, okay. Nice, huh? I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. I sort of wish I had put I sort of wish I had put pink thread in my sewing machine, but that's fine. Don't mind too much. All right, again, I'm going to do 2 or 3 stitches right here at the end. I did a lazy girl thread where you get, too much more thread than what you really need so that you don't have to thread the needle. And then it can give you problems. That's why it's getting tangled up. And all right, yeah, one edge is, well, you know what? Fabric moves. You just kind of stretch it out and I'm the boss. Yes, I'm the boss of you. It's a little chilly here this morning. I'm not complaining at all. Just saying it was chilly. It was a little hard to get out of bed because, you know, it's so nice and comfy under the covers. And it rained last night. I love listening to the rain. At night we don't get much of it, so it's kind of nice when it does rain. It's like 40, 48 degrees, I think. That's chilly for us. It's really cold here in Southern California. Again, not complaining. I like it when it gets a little chilly. I know most other parts of the world it gets very, very cold. I grew up in Michigan and it's very cold there. You know, they talk about snow drifts. The snow would drift above so high on our front porch, over the front porch, would block the front door. And we could only use the back door in the wintertime. Not that we use the front door a lot anyways, but all right. I am going to do the last seam off camera. Just because it's easier to do. See, I want to make sure that I get I don't know if you can really see that, but I want to get deep enough in there that I'm getting through the fabric on the outside. All right. Let's just check and make sure. Would you look at that? I like that you can see it. I like that it's not very even. I think that adds to the charm. Anyway, just want to show you the back. Gosh, I just think it's so cute. I just love it. I love the. All right, I will show you the whole thing when it's done. I need to do something with these ends, and I'll show you that before I'll show you that before I do that. I took out the most of the basting threads. I still have to take this out, but I'll do that after I sew the ends. See, I love that. I love that you can see all the hand stitching, and some of it is like perfect little teeny tiny stitches. I just love it. Okay. I'll be back. I'll be just a minute for you. Okay, I put a zipper tab on one side, and I'm going to show you how I did that. My zipper tape is 1.25 inches. So I doubled that to 2.5. This is a 2.5-inch square. Then I ironed the sides into the center, and then I ironed it in half. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the zipper inside here, and I'm making sure to put it upside down like this, because that's how I did it on the other one. Then I'm going to fold it over and clip it while I stitch. And I'm going to stitch on camera and jibber jabber for a minute. I'm going to jibber jabber about slow stitch. So I am going to hide my knot here. Now, with slow stitch, there are rules that you don't have to follow. You don't have to follow any of the rules, and that's the thing about slow stitching. With sewing, hiding your knot, that's one of those rules that you can follow or not. You don't want, if you don't mind your knots showing on the outside, then just leave it. With sewing, I learned to sew from my mother we started when I was 5 years old. So I've been sewing for 60 years now, and I know all the sewing rules. I grew up with the sewing rules. Some of them I like and I keep, like ironing. Sorry, I keep going off camera. I iron everything. But it's kind of how my brain works. I used to be a bookkeeper. I do accounting. My dad was one of the very first computer programmers on the planet, and I think I got that sort of thing from my dad. Well, also my mother. Hold on. My mother sewed. She was a wonderful seamstress. She sort of had that, I guess. Anyways, I wanted to jibber jabber to you about. Now I'm going to do a stitch that I heard someone say that this is a stitch. This is a decorative stitch. I didn't know that. I thought I made it up, but apparently not. And this is called stab stitching, where you go down and pull through and then go back up and pull through. I don't always do stab stitching, but I have lots of layers of fabric here. I'm going to go over and go through and back and go through, and then I'm going to do a stitch in the same spot again. And again, I think there's a name to this. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. I just want I want the stitches to show. Now, in sewing, one of the rules in sewing is that you don't want your stitches to show. So you would I would do this in gray and hide the stitches. but I don't want to. I want them to show. And it's slow stitching. That's what slow stitching is. I know all the rules about, like in embroidery, you use a hoop. And you use a hoop, and they used to use a hoop, and they would wear gloves also, to keep the oils from your fingers off your piece. Sorry, I just hit the camera. And to keep you would use a hoop to keep your stitches from bunching up the fabric. And in slow stitch, we don't necessarily care. I sort of like that. I like the feel of the fabric in my hands while I'm stitching. And that's slow stitching. You don't have to follow the rules. I like that I know the rules, and I know that I'm breaking all the rules. And I guess maybe that's what's so freeing, for me anyways, about slow stitching. My mother would, if I messed up a seam, she would rip it out and make me do it again. Which is fine. She was teaching me, but hey, anyways. Also some final thoughts about this bag that I made. If I were to do it again, I might do each hexagon separately and add the backing as I went along. And now I'm gonna go one more time up to the back. Then I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna run it under the fabric. This is one of those rules you don't have to do, but I'm gonna pull it and cut it off so that it's hidden. There we go. So I like it. I like that you can see it. I like that it's not all even. They're not all even perfect little stitches. They're kind of close to perfect. I didn't turn under the edge. If my fabric was thinner, I might want to turn under the edge. If it frayed a lot, I might want to turn under the edge. I don't care if it frays. I can cut it off like this. But later on when it frays, I don't mind. You could, if you used wool or felt to make your squares, you wouldn't have to turn under the edges. You could just sew them together. If you wanted to use felt and do embroidery stitches and sew the edges together, you don't even have to back it. If I were going to use this bag to keep fabric in, I wouldn't do a lining and I wouldn't back it. But anyway, those are just my thoughts about embroidery and sewing and slow stitching. Basically, in slow stitch, there are no rules. It helps to know the rules and to understand why we have the rules that we do in sewing. And I know that I'm breaking the rules, and I can because I can. I really like this little bag. I like the way that it sits up. Like there's not even any, and I think that's because the part of it is because of the batting inside. or the wadding as they call it in other countries. And part of it, I think, is because of the lining fabric that I used. I'm glad I did now that I see it. I like that I'm going to take you down and show you. Isn't that so cute? Now I just have to figure out which side I'm going to use for my thumbnail. Thanks for watching. This was a long video. I'll put timestamps so that you can skip through my Jibber Jabber. Thanks for watching. See you next time.